The story begins during the final days of World War II. A kamikaze pilot named Shikishima lands his plane on Odo Island, claiming that his aircraft developed a technical fault during combat. A few mechanics are stationed there to repair planes, but they cannot find any flaw in his aircraft. Consequently, the lead mechanic, Tachibana, tells Shikishima that despite a thorough search, they found no defect. Shikishima remains silent. Looking at his face, Tachibana realizes that Shikishima faked the malfunction and fled the war to land on the island. This leaves Shikishima deeply ashamed, but a junior mechanic reassures him that he did nothing wrong, saying the whole country knows that even if kamikaze pilots sacrifice their lives, Japan cannot win this war. Suddenly, Shikishima notices unusual deep-sea fish floating on the surface of the water. Shortly after, as night falls, an emergency siren rings out. Everyone assumes an enemy attack is imminent. However, they see a massive creature instead, which terrifies everyone as they fail to comprehend what it is. One of them suggests it might be Godzilla.
It's called Godzilla. One of the locals told me when deep-sea fish float like today, Godzilla is near.
Everyone quickly hides in a bunker, and Tachibana urges Shikishima to get into his plane and shoot the creature.
A 20mm gun's enough to kill anything. Now go hurry.
A terrified Shikishima climbs into the cockpit, but fear freezes him, preventing him from firing. Godzilla approaches the bunker. The men open fire on it, but the bullets have no effect, and the monster begins crushing everyone. Meanwhile, Shikishima, paralyzed by fear, does not fire a single shot. He gets out of the plane and tries to run, but an explosion knocks him unconscious. When he wakes up the next morning, he discovers that everyone has been killed, except for one man who is gathering the bodies. Upon spotting Shikishima, the survivor flies into a rage at him.
Take a look, everyone is dead, because you didn't shoot!
Later, as they prepare to head back home, the enraged man hands Shikishima a few photos. When Shikishima returns home, he finds his city completely destroyed by the war and his home reduced to rubble. He meets a woman named Sumiko, who also expresses anger upon seeing him alive.
You have the nerve to come back and show your face here? You disgraced us all! If you'd all done what you were supposed to do, I'd still have my kids.
He asks her if she has seen his parents, but she tells him that they, along with her own children, were burned to ashes. Later, while at the market, Shikishima notices some people chasing a young woman who stole something while carrying a baby. Shikishima steps in her path, and the girl shoves the baby into his arms and runs away. Confused, Shikishima tries to leave, but the girl approaches him again. He hands the baby back and walks off, yet she continues to follow him.
I thought you'd just leave her there. Why didn't you?
I couldn't leave a baby alone in the middle of a place like that.
Oh, really?
Despite his objections, she follows him all the way to his home.
But we'll die on the street if you leave us out here alone.
Why would I care?
Shikishima asks where her husband is, to which she replies by asking if she looks married to him. He then asks whose baby it is, and she explains that during an air raid, the dying mother handed the infant over to her. The baby's name is Akiko, and the woman introduces herself as Noriko. Afterwards, she falls asleep with the baby inside his ruined house, leaving Shikishima thinking she has forced herself into his life. The next day, Sumiko tells Shikishima, "Do you think bringing a woman and a baby into your house makes you a savior? When it was time to be a hero, you ran away." Shikishima responds that she came on her own and the baby isn't hers. Sumiko asks if there is any food for the infant. When Shikishima says no, Sumiko gives him a small portion of her remaining rice to feed the baby. The next day, Shikishima returns home and announces that he found a job that paid 3,000 yen in advance. Noriko gets suspicious, questioning how he received 3,000 yen in advance before starting work and warning that it might be a scam. Shikishima assures her there is no catch, explaining that the company works for the government and the pay is high because the job is dangerous. He explains that during the war, the Japanese and American navies laid numerous sea mines in the ocean, and their job is to clear them. Hearing this, Noriko gets furious and says he could lose his life. Shikishima replies that getting any work in these conditions is a blessing, especially with his responsibility toward Akiko. He adds that just because a job is dangerous doesn't mean he will die, noting they will send him on a boat specifically built to avoid magnetic mines. However, when he arrives for duty, he discovers the boat is merely a small wooden vessel. There, he meets three men, Captain Akitsu, Mizushima, and Noda, who used to develop weapons for the Navy during the war. They explain that the Japanese and American navies laid around 60,000 mines along the coast of Japan during the war. The most dangerous among them are magnetic mines, which explode if a metal ship approaches, which is why they use a wooden boat. The captain explains that they work alongside a paired boat. A cable stretched between the two boats cuts the mooring chains of the mines, causing them to float to the surface so they can detonate them with a heavy machine gun. However, Captain Akitsu struggles to hit a mine. Shikishima takes aim, and drawing on his experience as a fighter pilot, he detonates the mine. Everyone is deeply impressed. From then on, they work together as a synchronized team. Together, Shikishima and Noriko take good care of Akiko, who has grown a little older now. With his earnings, Shikishima also repairs his damaged house. A few days later, he invites his teammates over for dinner. There, Noda takes a photo of Noriko, and the crew assumes Shikishima is married. However, they soon learn he is not. When they ask whose child Akiko is, Shikishima explains everything. Just then, Akiko calls him Papa, but he tells her he is not her father. The crew members remark that fate brought the three of them together and that he should accept them as his family. However, Shikishima flatly refuses, while Noriko listens in silence. One day, when Shikishima returns home, he notices Noriko wearing different clothes. She informs him that she got a job in an office in the Ginza district. Shikishima asks why she needs to work when he is earning money, but Noriko explains that she has always wanted to stand on her own 2 feet. She adds that if she stays dependent on him, he will never be able to move on and get married. He asks who will look after Akiko, and she replies that Sumiko agreed to care for Akiko until she returns from work. One day at work, the crew encounters a ship that has been brutally destroyed. They wonder if a large shark or whale caused the damage. Dr. Noda notes that neither a shark, a whale, nor standard weaponry could inflict such destruction, suggesting it was the work of a massive creature. At that moment, Shikishima notices dead fish floating on the surface and recalls seeing the exact same phenomenon on Odo Island right before Godzilla appeared. The crew remains skeptical, and the captain asserts that no such creature exists. However, Shikishima reveals that he was a kamikaze pilot and that Godzilla, not an enemy attack, killed the mechanics on that island. Hearing this, Mizushima panics, asking how their small boat can face a creature that destroyed such a large ship. Dr. Noda urges patience, explaining that the heavy cruiser Takao is coming from Singapore, and until it arrives, their mission is to stall the creature right here. He adds that today's operation must remain strictly confidential. They load 2 mines onto their boat to use as weapons. Suddenly, Shikishima notices a massive school of fish surfacing and urgently alerts everyone that Godzilla is coming. The captain radios the pair boat to warn them as well. Within seconds, the creature completely destroys the other boat and turns toward them. They immediately flee while releasing a mine into the water near Godzilla and detonating it. However, the explosion only makes Godzilla more aggressive. Shikishima opens fire on it, but the bullets have no effect. Dr. Noda then suggests detonating a mine directly inside its mouth. They manage to maneuver the second mine into its mouth, but when they flip the switch, it fails to explode. Checking the setup, they find the wire has been severed. Shikishima quickly shoots the mine inside Godzilla's mouth, causing it to detonate. To their horror, they witness Godzilla instantly and completely regenerate. As it prepares to unleash its atomic breath on them, the heavy cruiser Takao arrives and opens fire with its naval guns. Godzilla turns its focus directly toward the heavy cruiser and attacks it. The cruiser repeatedly blasts Godzilla, knocking it into the water, but the creature continuously gets back up and resumes its assault. Godzilla then fires its atomic breath from underwater, completely vaporizing the warship in a single second before swimming away. When Shikishima wakes up, he finds himself in a hospital. He asks what happened to Godzilla, and Noda tells him its current whereabouts are unknown. Shikishima warns that it was heading toward Tokyo and that they must evacuate the city immediately to prevent massive casualties. Noda tries to calm him down, explaining that the government hasn't notified the public yet out of fear of causing widespread panic, and that the authorities are unwilling to take responsibility because it would lead to chaos. Later that night at home, Noriko asks Shikishima what happened out there, but he refuses to speak. Noriko tells him that ever since he took the men off the street, they have endured everything together. She notes that while she has shared everything about herself, he remains entirely silent, asking what kind of burden he is carrying in his heart. Shikishima finally opens up, confessing that he is a kamikaze pilot who ran away from his duty and that he failed to save anyone from Godzilla on Odo Island. He reveals that the dead haunt his dreams, asking why he survived while they were left behind. Noriko tries to comfort him, saying that everyone who survived the war has the right to live, but Shikishima can only weep. The next day, the Navy in Tokyo spots Godzilla approaching the city again, and they are powerless to stop it. An emergency broadcast rings out across the entire city, announcing that a giant monster is rapidly advancing toward the Ginza district and urging everyone to evacuate to safety. Noriko is riding on a train when Godzilla ramps through the area, destroying the train and causing her to fall into the water. She manages to pull herself out onto the street, completely shell-shocked. Shikishima arrives at the scene to save her. As people flee in panic, Godzilla treads forward, crushing everything everything in its path. Godzilla then charges up its atomic breath and releases a massive blast, destroying countless buildings. As the lethal shockwave sweeps rapidly toward them, Noriko pushes Shikishima out of harm's way, shielding him and getting caught in the blast herself. Driven by immense grief and rage, Shikishima screams in agony. Everyone mourns Noriko's loss, while little Akiko cries inconsolably. Dr. Noda approaches Shikishima and reveals that the government wants to attempt a secret plan to defeat Godzilla with the help of civilians like them, though success is far from guaranteed. They attend a briefing where a former Navy officer addresses the gathered veterans. He explains that they lack weapons capable of harming Godzilla and that no foreign government will step in to help, meaning that they must solve this crisis themselves. Dr. Kenji then demonstrates the plan, explaining that they will wrap Freon gas cylinders around Godzilla to reduce its buoyancy, causing it to sink rapidly to the bottom of the ocean. They plan to lure it to the Sagami Trench, the deepest point in the area, so that the extreme hyperbaric water pressure will crush and kill it. Seeing this, Captain Akitsu and Mizushima are amazed by the doctor's brilliance. Shikishima asks if he is certain this technique will kill Godzilla. Kenji admits there are no guarantees, only calculations. Enraged by the uncertainty, Shikishima turns to leave, but they stop him and ask him to hear the rest of the plan. Kenji reveals Plan B. If the ocean pressure fails to kill Godzilla, they will inflate massive balloons attached to it using carbon dioxide gas. The sudden explosive ascent will force Godzilla to undergo severe decompression sickness, killing it. The captain then states that they must all protect the future of the nation, asking who will stand with them. Many decline to face such a deadly threat and leave, but many others step forward to fight.
We need these ships, and that means we need sailors. Who else is gonna get this done?
What do you say? Are we in, boys?
Later at a restaurant, Akitsu asks how they will lure Godzilla to the spot. Noda explains that they will play recorded Godzilla calls using underwater speakers, sound bites he captured during their mine-sweeping operations. Thinking an intruder is invading its territory, Godzilla will move toward the sound. Shikishima asks Noda if he can procure a fighter plane for him so he can draw Godzilla's attention and lead it to Sagami Bay. Akitsu asks if he has a death wish or if he is trying to avenge Noriko, asking why he didn't marry her if he cared so much. Shikishima replies by asking if Akitsu thinks he didn't want to marry her, explaining that his war was never over. Although the government had decommissioned all fighter aircraft, Noda shows Shikishima an old retired plane. However, it is not in flying condition, and repairing it requires a master mechanic. Shikishima immediately remembers Tachibana, the mechanic who worked on his plane on Odo Island. He frantically searches everywhere for clues, but comes up empty-handed. Still, he insists that only Tachibana can pull this off. Shikishima then hatches a scheme. He spreads malicious rumors about Tachibana, claiming he was responsible for everyone's death on Odo Island. Hearing these rumors, an enraged Tachibana tracks Shikishima down and attacks him. Shikishima apologizes, confessing he spread the lies just to find him. He then begs Tachibana to repair the plane and pack it entirely with explosives so he can fly it straight into Godzilla's mouth. Dr. Noda informs the entire team that at Godzilla's current speed, it will reach Tokyo by 11 a.m. tomorrow. Therefore, they must have their ships ready by 8 a.m. Mizushima insists on joining the battle, but Akitsu and Noda refuse, citing his lack of combat experience and his fractured arm. Despite their refusal, Mizushima continues to plead. When Shikishima arrives home, he sees a drawing made by Akiko depicting him, Noriko, and herself. Akiko breaks down in tears, missing her mother. The next day, Shikishima visits Tachibana, who has finished repairing the aircraft. Tachibana shows him a lever, explaining that pulling it will arm the explosive-laden plane for detonation. Meanwhile, Sumiko finds an envelope containing money and a letter from Shikishima, asking her to take care of Akiko. The team readies themselves according to plan, but Godzilla alters its course toward Tokyo instead of the Sagami Trench, unleashing destruction along the way. Shikishima takes off in his plane and announces that he will draw Godzilla's attention and lead it to Sagami Bay. The captain tells him to return alive for Akiko's sake, warning that he will never forgive him otherwise. But Shikishima remains silent as he lures Godzilla toward the trench. Now it is the Navy's turn. They advance to trap Godzilla with the Freon gas cylinders. However, Godzilla prepares to unleash its nuclear breath, terrifying the crew and prompting them to order a retreat. Noda insists this is their best chance, as Godzilla requires time to recharge after firing its atomic breath. They successfully encircle Godzilla with the Freon gas cylinders. Just as it prepares to attack again, they release the gas. Godzilla rapidly sinks into the ocean depths, plunging 1,500 meters down. However, the creature survives. Dr. Noda immediately activates Plan B, inflating the balloons with gas to pull Godzilla rapidly back toward the surface. Godzilla's ascent stalls at 800 meters, and the team watches as the balloons burst, leaving Godzilla alive once again. The captain orders the ships to haul Godzilla upward using cables, but the plan fails as the crane cables snap under the strain. Suddenly, Mizushima arrives with a fleet of civilian tugboats and ships he assembled. Together, the vessels haul Godzilla up to the surface. However, they realize Godzilla has suffered little damage, and it begins charging up its nuclear breath once more. Seeing this, everyone prepares for the end. Before Godzilla can fire, Shikishima dives his plane directly into the creature's mouth and crashes into it. The explosion tears Godzilla's mouth open, causing its unreleased nuclear energy to tear through its body from the inside out, disintegrating the monster. Just then, everyone sees Shikishima eject safely from his plane, revealing that Tachibana had secretly installed an ejection seat in the aircraft while repairing it. The crew salutes Shikishima in respect. When Shikishima returns home, Sumiko meets him and shares some news. He rushes to the hospital and finds Noriko lying in a bed alive. Overwhelmed with emotion, he breaks down in tears.
Can this war of yours finally be done?
See you with another story.